Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. Today we are going to start off with our number talk. And today's number talk is a which one doesn't belong. So when I show you the picture, feel free to pause the video, look at it, decide which one doesn't belong, and then you can hit play again. Which one of these numerical expressions does not belong? Okay, today we are going to start looking at the commutative, associative, and distributive properties. So first question I have, which expression represents 42 peanuts shared equally among 3 people? What expression represents 42 peanuts shared equally among 3 people? There are 2 keywords in my question that tell me the operation that I'm using to solve this problem. Those 2 words are shared equally. To share equally means that I am dividing something up. So if I am dividing the 42 peanuts among 3 people, that means my answer is going to be 42 divided by 3 equals 14. So starting into our properties, we're going to start with the commutative property. The commutative property means that the order of the numbers does not matter. So it doesn't matter the order of my numbers, they're still going to equal the same thing. Now, the commutative property can only be used in addition and multiplication problems. So let's look at some examples. I have the problem 3 plus 7 plus 5. If I were to work from left to right, as we do in math problems, 3 plus 7 is 10, plus 5 is 15. But the commutative property tells me that I can switch the order of those numbers, and I'll still get the same answer. If I switch the order to 7 plus 5 plus 3, I'm still going to end up with 15. Another example, 4 times 6 times 10. If I multiply 4 times 6 is 24. 24 times 10 gives me 240. But because of the commutative property, I can switch the order of those numbers, say 10 times 6 times 4, and still get 240. Now, I can still use the commutative property with just 2 numbers, such as 8 times 14. That's going to give me 112 when I multiply it, but that's going to be the same as 14 times 8 because of the commutative property. So now let's watch a short brain pop video about the commutative property.
Hey, Moby, what you doing? Dear Tim and Moby, I'm trying to study the commutative property. Can you help me? From Michelle. Sure, the commutative property is a rule about how we can add and multiply things together. For example, 2 plates plus 3 plates equals 5 plates. Now we've got 3 plates plus 2 plates, and that also equals 5. What do you mean this is baby stuff? You're the one having a tea party. Besides, I'm trying to make a point. If 3 plus 2 equals 5, and 2 plus 3 also equals 5, then 2 plus 3 must equal 3 plus 2. The order of the numbers doesn't change the sum. That's the commutative property of addition. For any numbers a and b, a plus b equals b plus a. There's a commutative property of multiplication, too. 3 times 2 equals 6. And 2 times 3 equals 6. 3 times 2 equals 2 times 3. For any numbers a and b, a times b equals b times a. There we go, the commutative property of multiplication. Hey, I'm stuck in this chair. Hey, can I have some more tea? May I please have some more tea?
All right. So the commutative property, remember, is just switching the order of the numbers. Next, we have the associative property. The associative property involves moving the parentheses. So this means the grouping of the numbers doesn't matter. And again, only addition and multiplication problems can be used with the associative property. Let's look at some examples. I have 3 plus 7, and if you notice, those are inside the parentheses, plus 5. But because of the associative property, I can move the parentheses and get the same answer. So now I have 3 plus 7 plus 5, and 7 plus 5 is within the parentheses. 4 times 6 times 10. My 6 times 10 is in the parentheses with this problem, but because of the associative property, I can move them to go around the 4 and the 6 and still get the same answer. And finally, 8 times 14 times 2. You notice 14 times 2 is inside the parentheses. But because the associative property, 8 times 14 times 2 with 8 times 14 inside the parentheses gives me the same thing. So let's watch another brain pop video about the associative property.
Apples. Ow. Dear Tim and Moby, what's the associative property all about? From Malcolm. The associative property deals with grouping numbers and works for multiplication and addition. You may not be able to mix apples and oranges, but we can add and multiply them. Let's throw some bananas in there too. We've got 6 plus 9 plus 4 equals 19 pieces of fruit. Using parentheses like this groups the apples and oranges together. It's a rule that we always do what's in the parentheses first, so 6 plus 9 equals 15, plus 4 equals 19. Right. Even if we move the parentheses and change the order of addition, our answer still comes out the same. No matter how we arrange the addends, their sum is always 19. This is an example of the associative property of addition. For any numbers a, b, and c, a plus b plus c equals a plus b plus c. The associative property works for multiplication too, but let's check it just to be sure. 6 times 9 equals 54, and 54 times 4 equals 216. 9 times 4 is 36, and 36 times 6 equals 216. It checks out. That's the associative property of multiplication. For any numbers a, b, and c, a times b times c equals a times b times c. And that's the associative property at work. Now can I have an apple? Thanks, Smalley.
All right. Now, the associative property, remember, is just moving the parentheses around, so the grouping doesn't matter. And finally, we have the distributive property. The distributive property means we're breaking apart the problem into facts that we know. So this can be used with any operation. So let's look at some examples. I have 2 times 5 plus 3. 5 plus 3 is inside my parentheses, but I'm going to share that 2 with my 5 and the 3. So it's going to be the same as saying 2 times 5 plus 2 times 3. I distributed that 2. I shared it with the 5 and the 3. Now I have 15 times 9 minus 1. So if I distribute that 15, it's going to be the same as saying 15 times 9 minus 15 times 1. So when I distribute something, I'm sharing it. Now let's watch a brain pop video about the distributive property.
Dear Tim and Moby, what is the distributive property? From Rachel. Well, the distributive property is a rule of math that helps us figure out problems involving multiplication and addition. For instance, we can use the distributive property to figure out how many animals are coming in today. 5 trucks are coming today, and each one is carrying 4 cows and 11 chickens. So that's 5 trucks times 4 cows plus 11 chickens. There are a couple of ways to solve the problem of how many total animals we can expect to get. Remember that we generally work with the parentheses first. It looks like in each truck there are 4 plus 11 is 15. Then we have 5 trucks, so 5 times 15 will get us our answer. So we have 75 animals coming in today. But say you don't have a calculator handy. According to the distributive property, 5 times the quantity of 4 plus 11 is the same thing as 5 times 4 plus 5 times 11. This makes it much easier. 5 times 4 is 20, and 5 times 11 is 55, and 20 plus 55 equals 75. So both methods get us 75 as the answer. We just use the distributive property to figure it out without the calculator. Here's a recap. For any numbers a, b, and c, a times a quantity b plus c is equal to a times b plus a times c. See, if you had used the distributive property, it would have been easier to figure out how many animals were coming in today. Then you could have built the fence before they got here.
All right. So distributive property means that we are sharing the numbers. So let's look at a couple problems and see if we can decide whether they are commutative, associative, or distributive. So look at the picture. Think to yourself, is that commutative, associative, or distributive? This one is associative because we are just moving the parentheses. How about this problem? This problem is distributive because we are distributing the 3 to the 2 and the 3. What about this one? This one is commutative because we are just switching the order of the letters. How about this problem? This problem shows the associative property because I'm just moving the parentheses. What about this problem with our apples? This problem shows the commutative property because I'm simply switching the order of the 6 and the 2. And finally, what property does this picture represent? This one represents the distributive property because I am distributing or sharing the letter A with B and C. Okay, so finally we are going to watch this video. Now, I will give you a heads up. This video is a little cheesy. Actually, it's a lot cheesy. But you know Miss Houchins loves the cheese. So let's watch this video together about the mathematical properties.
I can't believe we're about to buy our first house.
Yeah, it seems like just yesterday we went on our first date.
That first date that Aunt Sally almost ruined. I mean, she was everywhere. She didn't have her own privacy. She was everywhere. I didn't do anything. I did some of the worst days ever. I can't believe it. You know what? I hope she doesn't show up today.
You know what? You don't even have to worry about it. She won't be here.
I'm all about my properties, my mathematical properties. I'm all about my property, just like Monopoly. There's identity and associative. We got commutative and distributive. That's just the way it is. You got to learn the kids. First one up, and that's commutative. It goes A plus B equals B plus A. That's like 8 plus 3 equals 3 plus 8. Or 8 times 3 equals 3 times 8. Just put them in a different order. Not associative can wait, cause I'm all about my properties. My mathematical properties. I'm all about my properties. Yes, just like Monopoly. There's identity and associative. We got commutative and distributive. That's just the way it is. You got to learn it, kids. Next one up, and that's associative. It goes A plus the quantity, B plus C equals the quantity, A plus B plus C. All we did was move the parentheses. I need you to learn this conceptually. Now identity is easy. Class, please believe me. Example, 3 plus 0 equals 3z. And 3 times 1 equals 3z. I told you it was easy. From Mr. Q, you easy. I know identity, see? I'm all about my properties. My mathematical properties, that's right. I'm all about my properties, yes. Just like Monopoly, there's identity and associative. We got commutative and distributive. That's just the way it is. You got to learn it, kids. Last one up, and that's distributive. It goes A times the quantity, B plus C equals A times B plus A times C. Or A times the quantity, B minus C equals A times B minus A times C. Here is an example of what you need to do. Try 4 times the quantity, 6 plus 2. That's 4 times 6 plus 4 times 2. 24 plus 8, the answer is 32. Now I'm all about my properties, my mathematical properties, that's right. I'm all about my properties, yes. Just like Monopoly, there's identity and associative. We got commutative and distributive. That's just the way it is. You got to learn it, kids. That's just the way it is. You got to learn it, kids.
All right. So we talked about the commutative and associative and distributive properties today.